This is a story of a boy named Komura, who had crush on a girl in his class who has trouble seeing without her glasses. He realizes that she is a bit clumsy, which makes him like her even more. A few days ago, their class seating arrangement was shuffled, and Komura ended up sitting right next to Mie. One day, Mie forgets her glasses at home, and Komura notices that she looks even cuter without them. As he takes his seat, Mie tells him that she is having trouble seeing and would squint her eyes to see so he could ignore her for that. Komura gets surprised because Mie has never spoken to him before. A little later, he wonders how she even made it to school with such poor eyesight. Suddenly, Mie mentions that this kind of thing happens to her often. Komura then decides to help her as much as possible. During the first period, Mie asks him to find her history book, but when he moves closer to help, he gets a little nervous and instead offers his own book. Mie excitedly jumps closer to him and asks to study together, but Komura panics and tells her to read alone. When Mie asks why, Komura becomes speechless, and he ends up sharing the book with her. He was already nervous, and on top of that, Mie leaned in very close to see the book. Mie practically buried herself in the book, while for Komura, having her so close was terrifying. However, he was happy that at least they were a little closer. Next day, Komura thought that Mie would have forgotten about him by now, but suddenly, she leaned in really close to his face and asked who he was. Komura told her his name, and Mie went back to reading. After class, Komura's heart was still racing as he recalled how close Mie had been and how beautiful her eyes were. Just then, he saw Mie sitting by the lockers and asked if she was having trouble tying her shoes. Mie asked, "Who is it?" Komura reminded her that he had been sitting next to her all day. When she finally recognized him, she explained that her shoes had suddenly become too big. Then Komura noticed that his own locker was open and realized that Mie was actually wearing his shoes. We see that few minutes earlier, Mie's friends had offered to help her find her shoes and walk her home, but she was confident she could find them herself. However, when she opened her locker, she couldn't recognize the shoes inside. She started checking all the lockers and found a pair that looked similar to hers. She apologizes to Komura for the mix-up and starts taking off the shoes. Komura then decides to help her find her actual shoes. When he opens her locker, he sees a fat green frog sitting on them. But Mie, unable to see clearly, thinks they are just green shoes and says they aren't hers. Komura tells her to turn around and quickly shoos the frog away. When he finally hands her the shoes, she realizes there was a frog on them all along. Mie puts on her shoes, and Komura does the same. Just as they are about to leave school, Komura notices Mie's shoelaces are untied and stops her. He kneels down to tie them, and Mie thanks him, promising to repay him someday. Komura keeps thinking about the time he spent with Mie that day. Suddenly, Mie comes really close to him and says she doesn't want to forget his face so that she can recognize him the next time they meet and repay him. However, even at this close distance, she still can't see him clearly, so she says that she will look at him properly another time. Actually, Mie's house was just a few steps away from the school, which is why she didn't have much trouble coming in the morning. In the evening, Komura felt a little bad, but at the same time, he wished that Mie would forget her glasses again next day. Surprisingly, the next morning, she forgot her glasses once again. Komura felt as if his wish had somehow come true. Then he overheard that Mie had accidentally stepped on her glasses and broken them. Later, during gym class, Komura wondered why Mie was even playing when she couldn't see the ball properly. To make things worse, Mie casually mentioned that she didn't even know which team she was on. Hearing this, Komura started to think that he might have unknowingly cursed Mie last night. To make up for it, he stood in front of her to shield her from the ball. Mie, trying to avoid the ball, ended up moving really close to him, making it impossible for him to dodge. As a result, he was the first one to get out. In the next class, Komura felt exhausted from gym, but when he saw Mie reading her book so attentively, he felt a little more motivated. Suddenly, the teacher asked Mie to stand up, so Komura tried to alert her. But then he saw that the silly girl was actually asleep, lost in her dreams. In her sleep, she was mumbling about saving Komura, which made him think she must have been really tired after gym class. Meanwhile, the teacher kept calling Mie's name, so Komura quickly tried to wake her up. But as soon as he reached out his hand toward her, he panicked and instead made an excuse to the teacher, saying that Mie was just reading her book up close because she couldn't see well. Surprisingly, the teacher believed him and walked away. Komura thought this was the perfect chance to wake Mie up, but just then, she suddenly woke up on her own and started looking for her glasses. She turned to Komura, mistook him for her dad, and asked, "Where are my glasses?" Komura assumed she was just sleep-talking, but before he could react, she rested her head on his shoulder and went back to sleep. He couldn't believe that the girl he liked so much was actually sleeping on him. But before he could enjoy the moment, the teacher came back and ruined it completely. The next day, Mie was squinting again, and Komura immediately realized that she had forgotten her glasses once more. She leaned in close to his face again, but this time, Komura was just grateful that she wasn't wearing her glasses. However, Mie then revealed that she was actually wearing contact lenses, which allowed her to see his face properly. Later next day, Komura and Mie were assigned lunch duty together. Once again, silly Mie forgot her glasses, and today, she was in charge of serving stew. Because of her poor vision, she was putting way too much stew in everyone's bowls. Komura offered to switch places with her, but Mie refused to back down from her task. He told her, "All right, but at least try to serve a little less." In her attempt to serve less, she ended up only giving people tiny drops of stew. Komura asked if she was having trouble, to which Mie admitted that she was actually just really hungry. Just then, a boy came to get more meat. Mie asked, "Can I give you potatoes instead of meat?" The boy happily agreed, but since Mie couldn't see properly, she accidentally gave him meat anyway. Komura initially thought that she was secretly saving the meat for herself. However, after their shift ended, Mie came over and handed him the meat, explaining that she had purposely given the boy potatoes so she could save the meat for Komura as a way of repaying him for his help the other day. That's when Komura remembered that she had promised to repay him. Mie then asked Komura to keep this little scam a secret. However, everyone had already seen her do it. Later, they all sat down to eat, but the stew was mostly filled with just potatoes. A week later, Mie once again forgot her glasses. As soon as she sat down, she took out her contact lenses and grumbled about how much she hated them, especially taking them out of her eyes. She muttered that she should just get used to them and forcefully tried to put them back in. Seeing her struggle, Komura stood up and told her that she didn't need to force herself. He would help her. The entire class turned to look at him, wondering what on earth he was saying, but Mie felt really happy hearing this and thanked him. The next day, Mie came to school wearing her glasses, but for some reason, she was still squinting. Komura, confused, asked why she was doing that even with her glasses on. Mie explained that because it was a bit cold outside, her glasses had fogged up. At that moment, another boy entered the class with his glasses fogged up as well. Mie immediately panicked and shouted that a stranger had entered their classroom. Komura reassured her that he was actually their classmate. Mie then wondered if other people also had trouble recognizing her sometimes. However, she added that as long as Komura could recognize her, she had no problem. Hearing this, Komura was a little surprised. Then, Mie asked for his phone number. Komura, without hesitation, agreed. After exchanging contacts, Mie explained that she often forgot her glasses, so she might need his help in the future. Komura asked why she didn't just ask a family member instead. Mie admitted that she felt embarrassed to do so, but when she was with Komura, she didn't worry about anything. Feeling overwhelmed, Komura walked over to the window, silently thanking the heavens for letting him sit next to such an adorable girl. A few days later, Komura received a message from Mie, asking him to meet her at the station. He was so shocked that he fell off his bed while reading the text. He started wondering if the gods themselves were trying to set them up. Later, he arrived at the station and, as expected, found Mie without her glasses. She explained that she had dozed off on the train, and in her rush to get off, she forgot her glasses inside. She then told him that she urgently needed to go somewhere and asked if he could help her get there. Komura started thinking that this was practically a date and felt as if he was on clouds. Mie suddenly grabbed his hand and told him to lead the way. Despite holding her hand, Komura managed to stay calm and guided her to the shop she wanted to visit. It turned out that she had come all this way just to eat a particular cake. Since she was struggling to find the cake, Komura offered to feed her. The moment he said it, he wondered if he had gone too far. But to his surprise, Mie had already opened her mouth, waiting. Komura went into deep thought, wondering if he should first get permission from her father. But before Mie could close her mouth, he quickly fed her the cake. After eating, they stopped by an eyewear store, where Mie mentioned that she was trying out some new frames. Meanwhile, Komura was lost in thought, wondering how he could preserve the touch of her hand forever. Snapping back to reality, he thanked Mie for spending time with him and was about to leave. But then, Mie grabbed his hand and said that now that she could see him properly, she wanted to spend more time with him. They hung out for a little longer, enjoying themselves. Before leaving, Mie thanked him again and said she would see him at school. Komura couldn't believe everything that had just happened. He wondered if it had all been a dream, but when he pinched himself, he realized it was all real. On the other hand, Mie was thinking about how kind Komura was. He had spent the whole day with her without a single complaint. But when she looked back on her day, she realized something. The entire time, she had only been looking at Komura. A few days later, Mie came to class wearing a mask. She told everyone that she had caught a cold, and Komura immediately thought that her glasses would be fogged up again today. Coincidentally, another student in the class had also caught a cold and was wearing a mask. When Komura sat down at his seat, he noticed that Mie had taken off her glasses. She explained that since she couldn't see anything anyway, there was no point in wearing them. The next day, while heading to school, Komura heard Mie making cat sounds. She was mimicking a cat so adorably that he couldn't stop himself from recording it. But then he realized something. Mie was actually talking to a plastic bag, mistaking it for a cat. Komura didn't want Mie to find out the truth and die of embarrassment, so he quickly started making cat sounds himself from behind her. Mie began petting the plastic bag, and just when Komura thought she was about to realize the truth, she suddenly started patting him instead and asked, "Where did the cat go?" Later, on the way to class, Komura saw something that made him freeze. The most popular guy in school, Azuma, was helping Mie look for something, because once again she had forgotten her glasses. While searching, Azuma accidentally placed his hand on top of Mie's. Seeing this, Komura felt like his soul had left his body. They eventually found what Mie was looking for, and instead of being jealous of Azuma, Komura started blaming himself, thinking, "Mie doesn't belong to me." Meanwhile, Mie thanked Komura as always, but Azuma laughed and said, "I'm not Komura." Mie was startled for a moment, then awkwardly admitted that it was usually Komura who helped her all the time. She became embarrassed, realizing how casually she had been talking to Azuma. Just then, she noticed that Komura had been standing there the whole time. The next day, Mie's friends couldn't believe that this girl had once again left her glasses at home. They warned her that squinting so much would give her wrinkles. Hearing this, Mie started thinking about her future and tried lifting her eyebrows instead. When Komura entered the classroom and greeted her, she turned to look at him. But what he saw completely stunned him. Her normal, unaided eyes were absolutely beautiful. Unfortunately, that beauty didn't last long, because a second later, Mie squinted again, struggling to see anything. Komura spent the rest of the day thinking only about her. The next day, Mie asked Komura to play a game called Shirtorai with her. Komura was nervous but agreed to play. As they started the first round, Mie accused him of not giving his 100%. She said that unless he gave her a real challenge, she wouldn't be able to improve. Taking her words seriously, Komura went all out in the next round and didn't let her win a single point. Mie began struggling more and more, and in frustration, she ended up calling out Komura's name instead of a move. The game ended, and they both realized that everyone in the class had been watching them the whole time. After school, Komura and Mie were assigned cleaning duty together. But Komura didn't mind at all. This meant he could spend more time with her. Suddenly, he noticed a cockroach crawling right next to Mie. He started thinking of a way to warn her without scaring her too much. To get her away from the cockroach, he called her over to stand next to him. Mie stepped so close that they could have easily kissed. At that exact moment, one of their classmates screamed upon spotting the cockroach. Mie, terrified, immediately clung tightly to Komura. The next day, it was raining, and when Komura entered the classroom, he saw that Mie was once again squinting, even though her glasses were right on top of her head. When Mie told him she had forgotten her glasses, Komura pointed out that they were literally on her head. But as she tried to take them down, she accidentally dropped them. Komura picked them up and handed them to her, but Mie closed her eyes, expecting him to put them on for her. Komura suddenly thought, "Is she waiting for me to kiss her?" Just as he was getting overwhelmed by the thought, he remembered that he was holding her glasses. In his panic, he accidentally placed the glasses on her lips instead. He was about to die of embarrassment, but Mie simply thanked him as if nothing had happened. Later, two girls were talking about giving a letter to someone. But as they ran toward their classroom, one of them accidentally dropped the letter. Mie happened to be passing by and picked it up. She wondered what it was. Komura, looking for Mie, found her staring at the letter and asked what she was doing. Mie said she had just picked it up from the ground but couldn't read whose name was on it. Komura took a look and saw that the letter was addressed to Azuma. When he noticed a heart sticker on it, he realized it was a love letter. Mie, however, simply asked, "Who is this letter for?" When Komura told her, she immediately went to give it to Azuma. In class, Mie found Azuma and handed him the letter while the rest of the students watched in silence. Komura held his breath. Azuma must have thought the letter was from Mie. But Komura didn't interfere. Instead, he quietly went back to his seat. A few girls approached Mie and asked if she liked Azuma. Mie didn't really understand the situation, so she casually said, yes. Hearing this was like a dagger to Komura's heart. Azuma took the letter and stepped out of the classroom to read it. Komura, unable to resist, secretly followed him to see his reaction. When Azuma finished reading, he laughed. Komura's mind went into overdrive. What did that mean? Did the letter writer sign their name, or didn't they? He felt like he was losing his mind just thinking about it. Back in the classroom, the girls were wishing for Mie and Azuma to become a couple. Komura started questioning if he had simply misunderstood the whole situation. After all, Azuma did have all the qualities that made girls fall for him. Azuma, watching Komura lose his mind, suddenly got an idea. A little while later, Mie noticed that Komura looked a bit down. She asked, "Are you crying?" Komura quickly denied it, saying he was fine. Then, out of nowhere, he asked, "What do you think about Azuma?" Mie found it strange that everyone kept asking her about Azuma today. She said, "I like Azuma." Komura froze thinking, what kind of like does she mean? But then, Mie continued, though if everyone was asking about you instead of Azuma, it would make more sense. Komura was shocked and asked, "Why is that?" Mie replied, "Because I've spent so much time with you. I've grown attached. I've started to like you." Komura was still processing those words when Azuma suddenly appeared, with a reply letter. He handed it to Mie. Komura's mind went blank. Mie, as casually as ever, asked Komura to read it for her. Azuma also wanted Komura to read it. Komura took a deep breath and braced himself for whatever was written inside. But when he opened the letter, he saw, "Komura likes you too." Azuma walked away, clearing up the misunderstanding for everyone. Meanwhile, Komura was still in complete shock. Mie asked, "What does it say?" And now, the whole class waited for Komura's reaction. In the end, Komura becomes very nervous and was unable to say anything. A few days later, one chilly morning, Komura goes to get coffee and is surprised to see Mie standing in front of the vending machine. He asks if she can buy some hot cocoa herself. She replies that she's fine and mutters that he's speaking like her mom. When Mie drinks the coffee, she finds it extremely bitter, and Komura explains that it's black coffee. She asks him if he can drink it, but then she's about to drink it herself when Komura suddenly says, "No, I'll drink it." He grabs the can, but then it hits him. This might be like an indirect kiss. So he quickly says, "Actually, I don't like black coffee either." One day, Komura was running late for school and spots Mie, who was also late. He goes up to greet her, but she ignores him. That's when it dawns on him that she probably didn't even notice who he was. When they reach the zebra crossing, Komura notices that her hair is tangled and her skirt is lifted in the back. He tells her and Mie thanks him. Then, she mutters that she didn't want to go in front of Komura with tangled hair. After saying that, she walks ahead, leaving Komura melting right there at her words. Later, Komura takes Mie to the infirmary because she fell in gym class and broke her glasses again. When she got injured, it was Azuma who suggested that Komura take Mie to the nurse. Komura starts to wonder if Azuma really wants to set them up as a couple. Mie starts feeling insecure about her weight, but Komura knows that no matter what her weight is, the weight of his love for her will always be greater. When they arrive, Komura asks Mie to hold on to something so he can go get a chair for her. But when he sees that she's standing on the weighing machine, he tells her to move. By the time he notices her weight, it's actually quite high. When Mie realizes that Komura saw her weight, she becomes embarrassed and asks him to forget about it. Later, Komura notices Mie trying to put something on the board. He asks what she's doing, and she tells him that the teacher asked her to do it, but she can't reach. Komura offers to help, but he too can't reach. Just then, Azuma arrives and does it for them. Afterward, Komura says he wished he were a little taller, but Mie replies that she wouldn't want that. She says if he were taller, she wouldn't be able to reach his face to see him, but if he grows taller, at least she'll be able to recognize him by his voice. She adds that she hopes he grows even taller with time. Komura, on the other hand, starts thinking that he doesn't want to get any taller. The next day, Komura is shocked to see Mie crying but decides not to interfere in her personal matters. Mie turns to him and explains that she had been reading a book with some students and started laughing so much that she ended up crying. Komura thinks, thank goodness she was laughing, but then realizes that he missed seeing her laugh. He wonders if he should ask someone else how Mie looks when she laughs. Meanwhile, Mie falls asleep. Later, one girl notices a heart-shaped cloud in the sky, and all the kids look at it. But Mie can't see the cloud. When Komura notices how sad Mie is for not being able to see it, he decides that he's going to do something about it. That night, Komura sends Mie the picture of the cloud, and she really likes it. The next day, Komura is searching for Mie's glasses in the hallway because that silly girl had misplaced them somewhere in school. Just then, a girl calls out to him and tells him that she found Mie's glasses on the sink in the bathroom. Since Komura sits next to Mie, she assumes he'll return them to her, so she puts the glasses on his face. Komura's head starts spinning because of the high-power lenses. At that moment, Mie arrives and sees a boy and a girl standing very close together. When the girl calls out Komura's name, Mie panics and quickly pulls him away from her. Then, she apologizes to the girl for causing a scene, while Komura's head was still spinning from the glasses. The next day, to Komura's surprise, Mie arrives wearing her glasses. He thinks that maybe today she won't need his help. In a way, it's a good thing, he muses, because every time she gets close to him, his heart stops for a moment. Suddenly, he remembers that he forgot to bring his book and asks Mie if he can share hers. Mie happily moves closer, but as she looks at him, she realizes something. Without her glasses, whenever they shared a book, she used to sit much closer to him. Komura immediately gets flustered and hides his face. That weekend, Mie takes Komura with her to the eyeglasses store because she needs to choose new frames. She says she can't pick them on her own, and her dad usually comes with her, but this time, he's away. Komura finds it difficult because he doesn't know which frame to choose, as Mie looks way too cute in every single one. His brain starts to short-circuit, but after thinking deeply, he finally says that it doesn't matter which frame she chooses because she looks good in all of them. Hearing this, Mie decides not to change her frames. However, the next day, she approaches Komura and tells him that she accidentally fell asleep on her glasses, and they broke. The following weekend, Komura goes out to buy ketchup and notices that a store is selling chocolates. He thinks to himself, I wish Mie would give me chocolates on Valentine's Day. By chance, Mie is also wandering nearby, and when she hears her name, she suddenly appears next to Komura. He's happy to see her in casual clothes, but he asks how she managed to get there without her glasses. Mie explains that she knows this area well, so it wasn't a problem. Then she asks what Komura wanted her to give him. Komura starts panicking if he tells her it'll basically be a confession. He considers changing the subject but realizes that the entire area is decorated for Valentine's Day. There's no way Mie won't figure it out. Just then, Mie comments on how red everything looks, assuming that some renovation work is happening. Taking advantage of the moment, Komura quickly says that he actually just needed to buy some groceries from the supermarket. At the store, Mie says she needs to buy mayonnaise. Meanwhile, Komura starts blushing as shopping together like this feels just like a married couple. Before he can say anything, they hear an announcement about free chocolate samples. Komura asks Mie if she wants to try some, but when he realizes they are Valentine's Day chocolates, he panics. Making up an excuse, he grabs Mia's hand and quickly leads her away. He apologizes for his sudden reaction, but Mie simply comments that his hands are really warm. She then mentions that cold hands are good for making chocolates. Hearing this, Komura asks, so, are you planning to make chocolates? Mie says yes, since Valentine's Day is coming up, and only then does she realize why everything was decorated in red. Komura tries his best to change the topic, but Mie directly asks him if he wants her to give him chocolates. Komura gets stuck in a dilemma. How is he supposed to answer that? On the other hand, this clueless girl has no idea that he likes her. She casually says that she'll be making chocolates for all her friends anyway, so he'll get some as well. Komura comforts himself with the fact that at least he'll get friend-zone chocolates. Valentine's Day arrives, and Komura patiently waits as Mie gives chocolates to everyone. Finally, when she comes to him, she realizes that there are no chocolates left in her bag. Mie feels terrible for forgetting his chocolates, but Komura just smiles and says, no problem, you can give them to me next year. At that moment, Komura understands he can't stay in the friend zone for an entire year. He decides he'll confess his feelings. But then he remembers how he looks and immediately gets nervous. Just then, Mie comes up to him and says she wants to talk to him after school. After school, Mie tells Komura that she at least wants to give him something so he doesn't feel left out, but her mind was as empty as her pockets. She couldn't figure out what to give him. She then tells him that he can ask her to do anything for him. Komura can't believe she just said that. Seeing the perfect opportunity, he tells her that there's something really important he needs to say. He stands up, ready to confess, but then he hesitates. What if his confession ruins their friendship? However, he also feels like this is the best moment because Mie isn't wearing her glasses and won't be able to see his face. Komura tries to say something, but shockingly, not a single word comes out of his mouth. In the end, he apologizes and says, "I'll tell you another time, when you can see my face." Mie replies that she'll be waiting for that moment. Komura starts wondering, does she already know what he wants to say? But when Mie suddenly hands him a toffee, he realizes that she hasn't caught on yet. A month later, Mie weighs herself and sees that she has gained as much as a baby elephant. At school, Komura wants to give Mie chocolates for White Day, but when he sees her, she looks like she has completely lost the will to live. She tells him that she ate way too many chocolates on Valentine's Day, so now she's cutting out sweets. She asks Komura to stop her if he ever sees her eating anything sweet. Komura agrees to help her, but that also means he can't give her chocolates anymore. Just then, Ajuma approaches Mie and gives her chocolates in return for Valentine's Day chocolates. Mie can't resist eating them, so instead, she takes out a cough drop from her bag and eats that instead. But Komura tells her that the cough drop is actually a chocolate candy. Mie immediately puts it back. A little while later, Komura notices that Mie is still struggling to resist. Just as she's about to eat another chocolate, he stops her again. Mie makes an excuse, saying she didn't see it properly. Then, another boy comes up to give her chocolates. At this point, Komura starts feeling like something is off. Maybe Mie is doing this on purpose. Mie is just about to eat another chocolate when Komura suddenly says, "If you really want to eat one, then have this one." Komura wonders if he just made a mistake, but Mie is so desperate for sweets that she eats it without thinking and happily thanks him. The next morning, Komura notices Mie staring at something. Mie tells him that she made a sweets point card, which will give her a discount on her next purchase. She says she needs to post it after school, but the nearest post box is in an area she has never been to before. Komura starts worrying, so he offers to go with her. Mie is a little surprised but agrees. At that moment, some boys from their class ask Komura if he wants to join them at the new arcade after school. Komura gets excited but then remembers that he already promised to go with Mie, so he declines. Mie, however, doesn't seem happy about this. Later, Mie starts giving off a weird energy and suddenly tells Komura that she doesn't need his help anymore, so he can just go home. Komura insists on going with her, but Mie makes an excuse. Just then, the teacher asks Mie to read from the book. Komura starts worrying again. Mie buries her face in the book and begins reading, but the moment she encounters a slightly difficult word, her eyes completely fail her. Mie thinks that if she messes up, Komura will insist on going with her again, so every time she gets stuck, she quickly fakes a cough. After class, Mie learns that they will be changing classrooms for the next period. Some girls invite her to walk with them, but Mie declines and runs off because she doesn't want Komura to think she always needs someone's help. Before Komura can follow her, his friends stop him and remind him that a special game is releasing today. For a second, Komura actually considers going with them, but then Mia's face pops into his mind. Meanwhile, Mie reaches the other classroom. She admits that being alone is tough for her, but at the same time, she wants Komura to enjoy time with his friends. Just then, Komura appears in front of her, making an excuse that he got lost too and suggesting they go together. Mie says she wasn't lost, but in the end, she admits that she was having trouble seeing. She then tells Komura that she doesn't want to be the reason he stops hanging out with his friends. This makes Komura realize that she had been worrying about him all day. Mie then adds that she really enjoys being with him and she even wishes that Komura would be hers alone. Komura is completely stunned. Mie quickly changes the topic, saying that she will go to the post box alone after all. But Komura insists on going with her because he's worried about her. In the end, Mie drops her card in the post box near the school. Later, Mie asks Komura if he likes arcade games. He tells her that sometimes he enjoys losing himself in them. After she leaves, Komura realizes that he also wants Mie to be his alone. Since he has some free time now, he decides to go to the arcade with his friends after all. A few weeks later, the school year comes to an end with a ceremony. Komura thinks about how quickly the year passed. Then he notices Mie, who was dozing off while standing in line. The teacher starts announcing the names of students with 100% attendance and calls both Komura and Mie to the stage. As they walk up, Komura overhears some students saying that Mie looks like an old granny. That's when he realizes he has gotten so used to seeing her squinting that he doesn't even notice it anymore. But if she goes up on stage like this, people will definitely make fun of her again. Mie tells Komura that she feels a little scared seeing so many people. Komura decides that he should do something to ease her tension. He tells her about a pressure point on the palm that, when pressed, relaxes the nerves. Mie says, "Go ahead, press it," but then laughs, saying it tickles. She notices that Komura also looks a bit tense, so she tells him that if he thinks about something nice, he will feel better. Komura is called on stage to receive an award. He gets nervous and tries thinking of something nice, but only Mie comes to his mind. He realizes that the year passed so quickly because he was always thinking about Mie. Later, they go to class and find out their new seating arrangement. Komura gets the same seat as before, while Mie is seated at the front next to Azuma. Komura thinks that Azuma will help her and reassures himself that he is not jealous. Meanwhile, Mie asks Azuma where Komura is sitting. Azuma tells her that he is in the same spot as before, so Mie immediately turns around to look at him, making Komura blush. Then, a girl tells Mie that she is sitting in the wrong seat. Mie carefully looks around and realizes her mistake. Azuma helps her find her correct seat, and Komura holds his breath because of how close they are. When Azuma holds Mie's hand, Komura nearly loses his mind. His new seatmate tries to talk to him, but he completely ignores her. When Komura sees Mie sitting next to another girl, he feels a little relaxed and finally introduces himself to his seatmate. Mie looks back at him again, making Komura blush. Because of all this, his new seatmate stands up and asks Mie if she wants to switch seats. Mie immediately agrees, shocking Komura because he thought Mie wanted to sit near the board. Mie sits next to him and explains that she doesn't want the teacher to catch her sleeping during class. She adds that if she keeps turning around, the teacher will scold her. Komura cannot believe his ears but doesn't ask if she switched seats just for him. Guys, that's it for part 1. If you liked the recap, don't forget to like the video. After 500 likes I'll upload part 2 and subscribe to the channel.